That was my bracelet. All right, everyone, this is my review for Judas Priest with Sabaton. It happened at the Armory here in Minneapolis, Minnesota, Thursday, May 2nd, 2024. So just a couple of days from this recording, and so it's fresh in my brain still. My friend Christopher out of nowhere asked me, hey, you want to go see Judas Priest? Like, I love these little surprises. Let's do it. And I saw Priest a while back. It was at a casino, though. It was like an out-of-town thing for me. And it was crazy because that night there was a huge thunderstorm and trees were blowing over. It was insane. And these huge lightning hits were happening all around us. So the thunder was just super loud. We came in from outside. We went into this casino and we were met with just as much fury, but it was coming from the band. Judas Priest was already started and the kick drums were just firing on all cylinders that night. It was just pounding me in the chest. It was so crazy. They were opening for Deep Purple, which is really strange because once Priest got done, they just destroyed the stage, basically. They brought up this little tiny 5-piece Deep Purple drum kit. I thought that was such a contrast, you know, but Deep Purple killed it. I got to see Steve Morse, which is always great. And yeah, it was great seeing all those legends that night. So getting ready for this Judas Priest concert now, I was going through my closet, you know, getting all excited, going through all my metal t-shirts, but I realized that a lot of my clothes were in the laundry. I hadn't done laundry in a while. So I was basically left with a couple options. I ended up going with my Gem shirt. And I thought, you know, I'll wear this because wearing a Gem shirt to a Judas Priest concert is hilarious. And I figured a lot of the older people, you know, they grew up seeing that cartoon back in the day. They'd get a kick out of it too. So I ended up wearing a Gem shirt. Well, we were able to skip the line because one door had a whole huge line coming out of it. The other one was basically empty and nobody really saw it. So we snuck around, got in really quick, had to go through these metal detectors, and it was pretty strict. We actually had to take our belts off, which I've never really had to do at a concert before. So put it all in. It felt like we were at the airport, walked through the metal detector, and this guy kept looking at me funny from the other side of the table. And he was like excited looking. I thought, oh, hopefully maybe he's like a subscriber or something. You've seen one of my videos or something. And he walks up to me and he goes, hey man, has anyone ever told you look a lot like Mike Shinoda from Linkin Park? And I kind of laughed. I'm like, yeah, I get that once in a while as my ego is shrinking back to normal size, you know. We walk in and the place is packed and Sabaton had already started and they already sounded pretty big. I was real excited. I'm like, man, if they sound this big already, could you imagine when Priest comes out, it's just going to explode. We go off to the right side and the Armory is interesting because lining both sides are just these two huge long bars, not like metal bars, but liquor bars where you buy booze, you know? And so it's kind of nice because wherever you're standing, if you're off to the side, all you have to do is turn around and you can order because they have so many bartenders. So we found a pretty good place to stand and I turned around and I ordered a beer for my friend and I got a double Jack on the rocks. That's what I always get to start off. And the bartender couldn't hear me because the music was so loud and I don't exactly have a voice that cuts through all that stuff. So I had to basically scream at the guy my order, and he still didn't understand. It was like I was speaking Klingon to him or something. And finally he got it right, and he flips the screen around, and it was $42. Apparently each one of my shots, because I got a double, was $15. And so with the tip, which was 20%, it came to like $50, and we hadn't even gotten to the merch table yet. And we're already down $50 just on drinks. So I hand my friend his $12 beer, and he asked me if I thought Judas Priest would play Painkiller tonight. And I thought, I don't think so, man, because I don't really see a ton of footage of them playing that live. And I imagine, you know, it's a really tough song to pull off. It's such a high song to sing, and to keep it up like with that intensity for that entire song has got to be tough. I mean, I was hoping they were going to play it. It's one of my favorite Judas Priest songs, but I wasn't getting my hopes up. Anyhow, we settled in and we started to really take in the band that was playing on stage called Sabaton. I'd never heard them or heard of them before, but the day before the concert, I looked them up on a video real quick and just listened to just a sample. And to me, I just kept thinking Viking metal. I don't know too much about metal in that area. They're from Sweden, actually, and I'm part Swedish. So I'm quarter Swedish, quarter Norwegian, and half Korean. So I thought, you know, I owe it to these guys to get to know their music. You know, we're all brothers here. The drum riser was actually a big tank. It had two huge barrels coming out, and I thought that'd be so badass if green lasers shot out of them later on in the concert, but they never did. So I'm watching the drummer, and I'm noticing that he is doing things I wasn't expecting from a Swedish power metal band. He's twirling his drumsticks, he's throwing his sticks up in the air. Just the way he played reminded me a lot of like 80s hair metal drummers. I was just expecting some real like bruiser just pounding on the toms the whole time. But this guy was a finesse player. And then I looked around and I noticed that all the other musicians, except maybe the singer, were finesse players as well. The guitar player reminded me of like a young John Petrucci, and he's playing with one hand sometimes and like, you know, cueing the audience with his other hand to chant or to yell or whatever. And I thought this whole band is very proficient. It felt like at any moment, if they wanted to, they could just flip a switch and start playing like a prog medley or something. Now, that's not to take anything away from the singer, because he was solid. He had the perfect voice for this kind of music, real strong, real tough. I think his name's pronounced Joachim. I'm not really sure. I should know, being part Swedish, I guess. All I gotta say is he has a powerhouse of a voice and a presence on stage. He looks like a badass, like you would not want to mess with this dude. You know, he'd take you apart quick. So because I really didn't know their music, my expectations were pretty low for the opening band. But they kept winning me over with each song. I was like, these guys are actually really legit. I started to look around the crowd and I noticed that a lot of people had Sabaton shirts on. I'm like, I guess I'm late to the party on this one, you know, because I'm sitting here clueless and it seems like everybody else knew about this band. And they kept doing things to win me over even more. Like the singer, he's this big badass dude. He comes out and he's holding a Hello Kitty guitar. And I thought, I don't feel so bad now wearing this gem shirt anymore. He's up there with a Hello Kitty guitar. And he's, you know, being self-deprecating and they're joking around a lot. And they kick into a song and it's so funny how heavy a Hello Kitty guitar can actually sound. And then one time the guitar player, I think it was the lead guitar player, came up behind him as he was singing and he must have tickled him or something, because he let out this insanely loud giggle and he looked legitimately embarrassed about, you know, the sound he just made. And he looks over, he's like, I'm gonna get you, you bastard. And I was thinking, it's so great that this guy has a good sense of humor, because the way he's built, man, he could really do some damage if he wanted to. So that made me like the band even more. You know, it's one thing when a singer sounds tough and then tries to act tough all the time, but I like it when they can show another side to themselves. It really makes them, you know, come off as human. So Chris and I are standing next to each other, right? I ended up being behind what I call a backpedaler. So it's one of those people that will slowly move back throughout the course of the show. I don't know what the deal is, but I'm standing next to my friend and this guy is starting to move backwards. You'd think you'd want to move forward towards the band, you know? And so I'm moving back with him because I kind of have a big bubble, you know, it's just how I am. So before I knew it, I was standing so far back, I look forward and he's now standing next to my friend. So it's almost like they went to the concert together and I'm just some dude back here watching. Anyway, so I'm standing back there and I'm scanning the crowd like I like to do. I love to see people's reactions to certain parts of the show. And I noticed that there was a kid sitting on his dad's shoulders way up in front, I would say 10 rows back from the stage. And I squinted to really see, and it looked like he was really, really young. Like we're talking 5 or 6 or something. And he's just rocking out. He's got the devil horns the whole time. And I kept thinking, I hope he has earplugs. You know, his young ears probably can't take this much volume. And later on in the show, Joachim, sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, he's like, hey, little man, come over here.
Is this your first rock show? It is.
And then Joachim takes off his sunglasses and gives them to the kid. And I'm thinking, oh man, this is going to be like a lifelong memory.
My friend, I think you deserve a pair of sunglasses for souvenirs. Oh wait, can you help us out? Thanks. Daniel, 5 years old.
And the crowd was so awesome. They started chanting the kid's name.
Wow.
And then he says, friends, this is our last song, I regret to inform you, or something like that. And the whole crowd was privy to it, but I wasn't. So their last song started, and it starts off with this whistle thing going on, and the crowd just went crazy. And I'm like, yep, once again, I'm the one who's like out of the loop here. I have no idea what the song is. And it was really cool when it kicked in. It reminded me a lot of the Voyage of the Mimi theme song. I don't know if you were ever forced to watch this show as a kid in school. We were. I think Ben Affleck was in that. And I laughed at the thought of the Voyage of the Mimi theme with this heavy music behind it. I was like, what would that sound like? So here you go. So they finished their final song and the crowd's still going crazy, just loving Sabaton. And they did something that not a lot of opening bands do. They came out and did a group bow. And like I said, you really don't see that except for headlining bands most of the time. So that just goes to show you how great of a set they had. So they walked off the stage, people are still chanting their name, and it must have been a really great night for them. Well, after they got done, my friend who's a professional sound guy, he's like, I want to go check out the production area. And I did too, because I love to see what makes things work, So we go back there and they're taking down the Sabaton board. And we notice that there's 2 boards, identical boards for Judas Priest. They're huge, And I guess that's called a redundancy, so that if something goes wrong on one board, you can just jump to the other one, I guess. But that was really cool. They had 2 boards going. The light boards were above, and I was so excited about the show we were about to see. It looked like they had a huge production getting ready to happen. But I thought, I'm going to get one more drink, run to the bathroom, maybe buy a t-shirt. We'll see what the prices are over there. And I went up to buy a drink, so I went up to a different bartender, and he was even worse than the first guy. Like he was looking at me like I was a leper or something. He was like staying away from me. I'm like, do I smell bad or something? I'm chewing gum. I don't know what the problem is. So I'm like, Jack on the rocks. And he looked disgusted with me. And so he punches it up, $30, flips the thing around, and he just leaves. He didn't walk away to help another customer. He just left. Like he went to the bathroom or something mid-transaction. And unfortunately, I already had hit 20%. It was like the lowest option. But I was like, here's $6 for being a dick. I don't know. And as I came back, I hit up the merch table and I saw a bunch of awesome shirts. And I saw one guy waiting there to help me. And he looked really excited, kind of like the guy earlier at the metal detector. But this time, this guy actually knew my channel. He's like, by the way, I watch your channel all the time. So I thought that was pretty cool. He didn't even give me a chance to give him a tip. He's just like, okay, you're good. And I'm like, whoa, thank you, man. So the people I want to tip, I can't tip. And the people I shouldn't tip, get the tip. It's really backwards. So I whipped the shirt over my shoulder and I walked through the crowd. I see a couple people I knew. I saw my friend Glenn, who's my ex-roadie. He was there having a great time. And then I ran into my friend Rob, who's actually the guitar player for a band called Sir Psycho. They're a Red Hot Chili Peppers tribute band. And when you see him, you'll probably agree that he was born to play the role of John Frusciante. We talked for a bit, and then I heard War Pigs starting up, like full volume over the PA system. So I'm like, okay, that must be the cue. So I walked back to where my friend was by the soundboard, because that's a really great place to stand for a concert, because of course it's going to sound great where the sound tech is, mixing the sound. This banner comes down on the stage and it has all these like commands or something. It was kind of strange. It's like the 10 Commandments came down or something and we're all reading them. I'll put a picture up so you can read it. And I was like, that's really strange. Is that going to be up the whole concert? I wasn't sure. Then they started to play the intro anthem. And as soon as the band came out to play, that curtain or whatever that thing was flew up into the sky and disappeared. It was so crazy how they did that. We were just blasted by like crazy screens. Everything looks so awesome these days with stage tech. It looked like the Megadeth show did, where it was really visually stunning. Lights, screens, everything. One thing that wasn't stunning, though, was the sound. And, you got to give the sound guy some time to really dial it in, even though they do sound checks. So it's a little confusing, but it just sounded really anemic. There was no kick drums hitting me. Everything just felt really weak for a while. And I told my friend, and he's like, don't worry, he's working on it. It's all good. I kept looking over at the sound guy and he was kind of working fast to try to get things to sound good. But then You Got Another Thing Coming kicks in and it just isn't hitting me the way I wish it would have, And I'm thinking, we're standing next to the soundboard. This is really strange. And my friend now is starting to get a little worried. He's like, maybe it's not going to get any better. I'm not really sure. So I'm kind of staring daggers at the sound guy, And it's funny because this girl was standing in front of him and she thought I was looking at her with the evil eye or something. She's just like, what's your problem, dude? And I looked and the sound guy was slowing down. I thought he'd be in this, crazy panic to try to get everything to sound right. But all of a sudden he's just like casually turning knobs and doing this every once in a while. I'm like, what the hell? If Sabaton sounded like an 8, Priest was sounding like a 4 at this moment. And that was really surprising to me. Judas Priest coming out should just blow you away, but it definitely wasn't doing that. It's like those old boom boxes that have the mega bass button. If you have it pushed in, it just sounds so powerful, but if you take it out, it just feels empty down below. And that's kind of what it felt like throughout most of the show. I just decided I have to chill out. I can't let my OCD take over this whole concert and ruin it for me. So, it sounded good. My friend made a good point. He's like, if you really listen, everything sounds great. It's just not attacking you the way you want it to. I mean, one of our first concerts we ever saw was Metallica's Black Album tour. And, you know, you walked out, you felt like you got assaulted, you know, someone punched you in the stomach because of how powerful the kick drum was. So I'm used to that. What made this even worse, though, was that Scott Travis was on drums, and he's the double kick master, you know? So if you can't feel the power of his kick drums, you know, it's not going to be the full Scott Travis experience. Later on in the show, they got him a microphone behind the kit, and he addressed the whole crowd. He's like, all right, everyone, what song did you all come here for? And I just yelled out Painkiller, just instinctively, and my friend did too. And then he's like, oh, what? I couldn't hear you. And everybody yelled Painkiller. And I thought, no way. And then I thought, okay, what he's going to do is he's going to play the beginning of Painkiller and then do like a drum solo thing, like work it into his whole drum solo. But the whole band kicked into the song, and I got chills, and I got so excited, and the weirdest thing happened halfway through the song. I'm recording it, and all of a sudden, my eyes start welling up with tears. I just felt this rush of emotion. I couldn't believe I was hearing Painkiller from Judas Priest live. And I was kind of embarrassed, you know, so I was going to wipe my tears off a little bit with my t-shirt. I went to grab it. It was gone. On my way back from the merch table, I dropped it or somebody grabbed it, but it was gone. I was like, oh no, I lost my concert t-shirt. So I walked back to the merch table, and the guy who's working there, his name's Chris, by the way, super cool dude. I told him I'd put a picture of him in this video. He got me another t-shirt, no tip, once again, and I came back and I made sure I stuck it in my pants. That's the secret for me, is just stuff it in my pants. A lot of people will put on the shirt. That's a good idea too, but yeah, be careful with those t-shirts. They're really easy to lose in a crowd. So this shirt is actually shirt number 2. Whoever got shirt number 1, you're welcome, I guess. They played so many great songs. Of course, they played their classics like Breaking the Law, and they ended with Living After Midnight. Breaking the Law was badass, but he didn't do the chorus switch that he does towards the end of the recorded version of that. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. But towards the end of the song, he changes where he sings the chorus. He sings it on the 1 beat for a while instead of the 2 beat. If you're a musician, you know what I'm talking about. If not, you're like, what is this guy on? Breaking the law, breaking the law. But then when Living After Midnight kicked in, you know, even though I've probably heard that song 1,000 times and actually played it on stage a few times, I still felt like a little kid hearing the song for the very first time. And I looked up and I just had to take in the whole experience. Like, I'm actually here watching Judas Priest playing Living After Midnight. When the band got done, we filed out the back real quick. That's what I love about the Armory. It's so easy to come in and to leave that place. It's not like the old days where the venues we used to go to, like one of them was the Metrodome. It was just chaos after a concert, especially a heavy metal concert. After Guns N' Roses, Metallica, we're all crowding into the hallway. We have to walk pretty much all the way around the whole place, crammed together like sardines. Everyone's sweating, feeling gross. People are drunk. There are fights breaking out left and right. Kids these days, you don't know how good you have it. Overall, I would give the concert an 8.5. That's if I disregard the lack of kick drum power during the Priest set. But Sabaton was just so great, and Priest was tight, and the venue was awesome besides those 2 bartenders. But everything just was a great experience for me. So next time they come to town, selfishly, I hope they play a smaller venue so I get that power that I felt at that casino. Or maybe if the sound tech could just punch up those kick drums. But in the end, we all have our own preferences when it comes to sound. You know, we all have our opinions, of course. Okay, everyone, thanks again for watching this, and we'll catch you at a video very soon. Bye-bye.